Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Rob's Old Blue Book. And tonight we are going to be doing a carbonara. And we've done carbonara before, at least once. I keep coming back to this recipe. I keep trying to get better at it, and I've made a bunch of carbonara since last time. And I want to share with you guys some of the things that I've learned. I think this is a fantastic dish that really showcases all of the things that I really like about cooking, Italian cooking specifically. It's just simple ingredients using the best quality you can find. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and it's a technique that isn't super easy to master. It's not difficult. It's easy to screw it up. So I'm going to try and give you guys a couple tips on how to make it less screw-uppy, I guess. But first, let's do a cocktail. I was going to actually skip the cocktail tonight, but I decided to go ahead anyway because, quite frankly, I'm running out of cocktail ideas. I've been doing this over a year now, and we've had some misses, and I just don't feel like dredging through the also-rans for cocktails. We've hit all the classics. My bar cart is incredibly well stocked by this point. So I was going to skip it, but I was trying to think of a cocktail we hadn't done, and the last second I did think of one. And this isn't so much as a technique as a tip, I guess. We're going to do a dirty martini tonight, and the reason we're going to do a dirty martini is I like Hendrick's gin for my martinis. But if you don't have and it's a fantastic gin. Hey, Nick. If you don't have Hendrick's kicking around, or if you don't have a top quality gin kicking around, or maybe you're at a friend's house or at a bar and the only thing available is rail gin, and you still want a martini, what are you going to do? So the solution to that is a dirty martini, which is actually a pretty good drink. And what you do in a dirty martini is, as well as the gin, you're going to add a little bit of olive brine. So I got my favorite olives here. And I am going to put a little of the olive brine in. This is also going to be the dirty martini version of the Rob martini. As you guys know, I keep my cocktail olives in vermouth here, because I find it gives just enough vermouth for what I like in a martini. Now, if you like your martinis not quite as dry as me, and that's probably it's probably true actually, because I'm quite happy to sit down to iced gin on its own, then you can add more vermouth. But we're doing it my way tonight because I thought of the drink. So there you go. I mean, I didn't invent the drink, but I thought of doing it for tonight. Now, I'm using Dylan's unfiltered gin here. This is by no means a rail gin. This is quite a good gin, but I just can't face pouring olive brine into Hendrick's, so I'm going to use this. I'm going to do this relatively quick because I do want to get on to the carbonara. Anyway, 2 ounces of gin, and again, of course, this is a stirred drink because all of the alcohols are clear. I'm just going to take and you do this to taste too. I happen to know roughly how much I like, which is about that much. I'm going to tip a little bit of vermouth in there, just a tad. This goes in the glass. We'll do 2 olives tonight. Ow. All right. And then we just, again, stir it up. This is a pretty straightforward drink, actually. And again, about 10 seconds is sort of your law of diminishing returns on your stir here. Past 10 seconds, the drink's not getting any colder. It's not getting any more diluted. There's just really no benefit to going longer than that, so I won't. I'm going to serve this in a coupe. You can serve it whenever you want. And it has that nice briny color. And there we go, guys. So cheers. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I'm not a huge martini fan. It's never going to be a miss for me. So there you go. That's the dirty martini. What to do with rail gin. There is a use for it, and it's that. I mean, you could also make a gin and tonic, I guess, too, right? But if they only have rail gin, chances are they don't have good tonic either, and then you're missing out. Anyway, enough gin snobbery. Let's move on to carbonara. So I'm gonna go back actually to this cam here. And we're gonna talk about ingredients because with most Italian cooking, but especially with carbonara and some of the simpler pasta dishes like cacio e pepe and pasta alla gricia and carbonara and even Alfredo, it's very important that you use the best possible ingredients that you can find. So let's go through. I'm going to go through each one. This is pecorino. So the cheese for carbonara is pecorino romano. Some people will use parmesan, and if you like parmesan, it's not wrong to put a little bit in, but I wouldn't use like straight parm. Parm is a cow's milk cheese, and pecorino is a sheep's milk cheese. They taste different, and you really want the full flavor from Romano, pecorino Romano. Now, I went out and bought the most expensive eggs I could find at the store. These are free-range, gold-plated eggs from chickens living the life of luxury, I guess. I have used them before, earlier in the week. Does it make a difference? Do they really taste better? Is it worth spending $8 on a dozen eggs? And the answer is yes. Absolutely it is. These taste great. You'll see when we crack them. They have beautiful yolks. They taste great. And quite frankly, guys, like eggs are $4 anyways, and you get 12. Spending $8 isn't like out of the realm of possibility. Especially for this dish, if you're gonna crack eggs and make, well, you know what? They taste better. If you're gonna make fried eggs in the morning, use good eggs. Use good ingredients, guys. Use the best you can lay your hands on. When it comes to cheap things, anyway. So that's the eggs. So the protein, the meat in carbonara is guanciale. This is a little harder to find. This is the cheek of the pig. It's cured, and it's got wonderful flavor. It's got wonderful fat in it, but you can't get it everywhere. Now, don't substitute bacon for guanciale. It's not the same. Bacon is smoked. The flavors are too strong for a carbonara. Just don't. But if you can't get guanciale, you can probably get pancetta, which is a decent substitute for guanciale. If you look at, you can see this. I'm not going to open this, but if you look at the difference though in the fat, like pancetta is much leaner than guanciale, and you really want this fat to render out. So, oh yeah, this is a huge piece. This I would use, so for 2 servings I would use half this. I'm only going to use a little bit of this time because it's just me. But if you can't get guanciale, pancetta's okay. I mean, pancetta's great. It's just in a carbonara. Get this if you can. And quite frankly, we live in Toronto, guys. Go down to St. Lawrence Market. Everybody who's watching lives within 5 or 10 minutes of St. Lawrence Market. So there's no excuse for not having that. Forget I said anything about pancetta. Get guanciale. Okay. Pepper. Pepper is also important in carbonara. This is my current favorite peppercorn. It's you can see Campot. These are from Cambodia. Almost went extinct thanks to the Khmer Rouge. Unfortunately, so did the Cambodians, but they have recovered. So you can both support Cambodia and use amazing pepper at the same time. Other peppercorns that would be really good here, Telecherry are fine. The other ones I have here, like, this is a pretty generic peppercorn from Vietnam, but also tastes really good. Not quite as good as the Campot. Personal preference. But spend some time getting good peppercorns. Don't buy them in the little bag in the supermarket. Again, this container of peppercorns was, okay, this was expensive. However, there's a lot of pepper in here, and it lasts a very, very long time. And again, we're talking, guys, like, yes, this was expensive. It wasn't crazy expensive. I can't remember how much it was. But here's an opportunity for you to enjoy literally the best the world has to offer. Most of us are never going to drive a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. We're not going to own yachts. And we're not going to have the very, very best things in the world. But you can Nobody can enjoy better pepper than this stuff. And you can. This is within your reach. So spoil yourselves where you can. It's important. Not to mention it tastes amazing. And I have a little tip that I learned about pepper. So we're going to do that when we get the pepper ready. So those are your ingredients for the carbonara. And of course, the last ingredient is pasta. We're going to talk a little bit about dried pasta. So most of you who have been watching this for a while know that I normally, for dried pasta, say that the Barilla brand is okay. It's in every supermarket. It's not expensive. And I have come to the conclusion over the last 2 or 3 months that it's not very good. It's not near as good as I thought as I started to explore other kinds of dried pasta. So I am removing my recommendation of that. It's too easy to get much better pasta. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I have some of them here. Rumo you can get in a lot of places. I get this down the street at my little Italian market. It's amazing. It's very good. And if you look at this, sorry, this is what I'm going to use tonight. But I don't know if you guys can see on camera. But, oh, you can a little bit. See that? You can almost see it looks dusted. And that's not a dust, but it's rough. And this is going to catch and hold the sauce beautifully. That's because this comes out of a brass die. Extruded through a brass die, which, like Barilla, for example, is extruded through a Teflon die. It's smooth. That makes it really easy to produce the pasta, but it doesn't hold the sauce nearly as well. So this is what we're using tonight. I go for about 100 grams per person that I'm serving. So I have about 100 grams there. So other brands that I really like, and since we're talking about carbonara, this is Garofalo, another fantastic brand, equally as good as Rumo. The other pasta shape you can use for carbonara is rigatoni. This is a slightly narrow rigatoni. So the rule with tube pasta for your dish is you want the opening to be large enough so that the largest chunk in your sauce will fit inside the tube. So this is actually just a little bit small because as we get onto the guanciale, I'll explain how we cut it. So I'm not going to use this tonight, but if you can get a good big rigatoni, perfectly acceptable for carbonara. And it's easier to eat with a fork. So if you're one of those people who doesn't like twirling up their pasta, or maybe you're on a first date and you want to slurp it all over the place, you can use rigatoni instead of spaghetti. The best widely available supermarket brand is De Cecco. This is a fantastic pasta and might actually be the best value, I guess. I mean, okay, it's only 50 cents cheaper, so we're not saving much. But you can get this everywhere. And this would be my go-to if you're going into Loblaws, although why would you? But if you're going into a supermarket, get this stuff. Obviously, they have like any kind of interesting artisan pasta from a small pasta maker, grab that. But you really can't go wrong with this. This is going to make an excellent carbonara, and so will Rumo, which we're using tonight. Okay, so that was a kind of an info dump on pasta and ingredients. Anybody have any questions? Okay, didn't think so. All right, let's move on. So what are the steps in making a carbonara? You have to. Well, we're going to prepare the ingredients first, and when you get experience at this goes really fast because I should turn my water on actually. But you can prepare this dish while your pasta is cooking. Now, I don't recommend you do that at the beginning because don't rush, and you want to cook your guanciale slow. I'm gonna take go back. I'm gonna take this apart and show you guys how to do it. No, that's what. Oh, I got small again. Oh well. I'm gonna show you guys how to prepare this. Take your time with this. I mean, you're working with wonderful quality ingredients. Enjoy the process. So guanciale comes like this. There's a couple things you have to do to get it ready. One is to take the rind off. So this one, the rind only goes over to here, but quite often it'll cover the whole top of the piece. You don't really want to eat it. So I usually just, you can just take it off. Knife, there you go. And take that little bit off too. Now, save this. You can use that for stocks. or broth or whatever you want. And then the other thing you want to do too, for especially for carbonara, is this is pepper from the curing, and we don't want this flavor competing with our pepper in the dish. So I'm gonna take the pepper. It's quite bitter. A lot of cooks will leave it on, but I want to choose the pepper flavor in my carbonara. I don't want somebody else choosing for me, and so we're just gonna take the pepper off. And unfortunately, I would not save this for a stock either, because it's quite strong. So this is just trim. Get rid of that. Okay, so now we're gonna have our guanciale piece. I'm not too worried about this. No, actually. Okay, so how do you want to cut this? And there's a couple of different ways to do it, but I really like cubes, because you want your guanciale, and you see when we cook it, kind of want it like a French fry. You want it crispy on the outside, and you want it nice and creamy and yummy on the inside. So I'm gonna cut maybe. I really like guanciale, and here's the other beauty about making your own carbonaras. I can make this any way I want. I like this stuff, so I'm gonna use a fair bit in mine. And I'm gonna cut it into. I'll show you size cubes. This will shrink down a bit, and you'll get a sense of how this cooks up after you do it a few times, and you'll develop your own. Now you don't want it too thin. Like, these cubes are about. To me, these are perfect. Okay. These are just going to render out beautifully, and they're going to be wonderfully crisp. And I'm even going to make these ones. So I have a choice here. I can cut this into thirds and make them a little bit small, but fuck it, we're going to go big. And that is about the amount of guanciale I want for one portion of. And this is a fair bit. This is heavy on the guanciale, but it's my dish, and I'm cooking it for me. So there you go. And I'm going to put that. I'm just going to throw it in the pan, actually. So you want to start your guanciale in a cold pan and bring it up slow, because you want that fat to render out of the guanciale, because it's going to go into your dish. This is not a low-fat dish, by the way. But it's not bad. You don't have to eat a lot of it. It's very rich. I'm going to put that aside for a sec. And we're going to get on to the cheese. Let's do the cheese. Grate it right on here, actually. So pecorino, microplane, these are great. In terms of like microplanes to buy, I bought this narrow one. So microplanes were originally for wood, if you can believe it, which is why the original ones like this are shaped like a wood rasp. They're long and they're narrow, and that's great for wood. It's less great. Sorry, no pun intended. It's less great for cheese. Now microplane has since made larger, wider ones. If you're in the market for microplane, do yourself a favor. Get the shorter, wider one. Just make your life a lot easier. And I'm just going to grate off a good chunk. And again, I like my carbonara pretty cheesy, so I'm gonna grate a good chunk of this. I think that's about right. This really is a wonderful cheese. Okay. Now, eggs. Here's the other thing too. The OG recipe for carbonara would use a whole egg. So in general for carbonara, for each person, 100 grams of pasta, 1 egg. If you're serving at least 3 or 4 people, add an egg. So for 4 people, 5 eggs. And the original recipe, of course, they would never waste they wouldn't waste an egg white. But I'm going to do mine with yolks because it tastes better to me, and it's a richer sauce, and it's a silkier sauce. And even these were $8 a dozen. I'm not going to sweat a couple egg whites. Also, I can save the egg whites and put them into whiskey sours or do other things with them. I'm not going to tonight, but I could. So just working with the yolks. So I actually want to say it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to separate these. If you have one of those like fancy little egg separating kitchen gizmos that you can buy at like a Canadian Tire or whatever. Throw it out, guys. Every egg comes with an egg separator built in. It's not hard to do. And then boom, separate the second one. There we go. So I'm spoiling myself. I'm doing just yolks for a nice rich dish, and I'll deal with that later. So this is going to be your like your cream, your carbonara cream, which we're going to mix in. I'll show you. This is part of the technique. And this is the part that gets a little bit, let's take a fork and whisk it up. Now this is going to be pretty thick. And we'll talk about this in a little bit in a second. There's a couple of options you have here. I'm probably just going to put this straight into the sauce itself, but you do have a couple of options here. You can actually stir in a little bit of the fat from the guanciale as it cooks to thin this out a bit. If you're using whole eggs, this will be much creamier, but I'm not. So there you go. And my pasta water is boiling. I'm going to turn that off, and let's get our guanciale going. I don't want a super high flame here. As I said, we're going to have to chat for a bit because this will take a few minutes. It's a cold pan. We want this to kind of render up slowly and release its fatty goodness. We can talk about the cool thing. We haven't done a cool thing in ages. Let me show you the cool thing. So the cool thing this week is kitchen tweezers. That seems weird, eh? This is literally giant pair tweezers. Okay, will it focus? Focus, there you go. Yeah, see? This is a giant pair of tweezers. And these are really handy for a whole bunch of things. In fancy restaurants, they'll use them for like delicate plating and stuff like that. Like, to arrange the elements of a dish, and that's way too fussy for me. But these actually are really good for like flipping over your carbonara chunks. Because as we go through this, I'm going to want an even sear on all sides. And I can do this. It seems fussy because this doesn't take any time. But what they are really good for is scooping up pasta and twirling it for plating, which we'll do at the end. I'll show you. Is this something you should add to your kitchen? Aren't they? You probably don't need this. I bought it for a very, very specific reason. So as you know, I have the, whatchamacallit? The carving fork from the Chef movie. I got these on Amazon. So one of my favorite scenes in the Chef movie is when Jon Favreau makes a dish for Scarlett Johansson. For a whole bunch of reasons, that's my favorite scene. Anyway, I got, it turns out Jon Favreau actually gave Babish, Binging with Babish, the fork from the movie. And I can't remember Babish's real name, but it's not important. Anyway, Babish took that fork and then had it sort of found a vendor and made it part of his merch. So this is actually, I'm a huge geek here. Yeah, so there you go, Nick. See, this seems goofy, but it's really not. Like, this is like, and I know it seems like, on the face of it, it seems kind of ridiculous to like, in a world where chefs are like, you watch the cooking shows and they're like flipping. Yeah, if you have time to do that and you're cooking for 20 people, that's the way you got to do it. But you're right, Nick. Like, this is the thing. Like, I can turn these as we go and get a perfect sear. I'm not in a hurry tonight. I'm making a dish I know I'm going to enjoy. So yeah. So there you go. I do recommend these. I do like my fork. I actually end up using this for carving anyway. But it's actually got like, you can't say, hang on, do it this way. It's actually got like Babish on the end. And the other nice thing about this is, I was actually surprised. This wasn't expensive. And the quality of this is amazing. This is a really nice carving fork to use. Anyway, we're not using it tonight. I am going to be flipping this, and I got, see, even now I got the heat up just a little bit high. I want to let this fat render out. And so this fat, you'll see as we prepare this dish, and I'll give you a sneak preview, because what we're going to do is, when the pasta's ready, we are going to, I can put the pasta in. It gets thrown right into this pan, whatever pan you're serving in. And we're going to use a little bit of the pasta water with this fat that's rendered out. And we are going to create an emulsified sauce that's incredibly silky smooth. And then at the end, we add the eggs. And the residual heat from everything cooks the eggs. And it's a wonderful thing. So, so the other thing too is, I do have plates in the oven. Nick probably doesn't know this, but the plates in the oven has been a meme on this stream since the very, very beginning. I maintained that since the very, very beginning, you're never in too much of a hurry to not warm your plates. There's no excuse. There's no excuse for serving hot food on cold plates. Now, having said that, you do have to be a little careful with carbonara, because you don't want these eggs to scramble, okay? You want them to stay nice and silky, smooth, and creamy. So if your plates are too hot, we're going to prepare this wonderful carbonara with this incredible, silky, smooth flavor or consistency. And if you throw it in a really hot bowl, then your eggs are going to scramble, and you don't want that. So I do have plates in the oven. They are in at 150, whereas normally I would have them in at 200. So it's not really an exception to the rule, but it is something to be mindful of. And you can see, I got my tweezers going. I'm getting a little color on this. Does this seem silly? I don't know. I don't think so. Certainly going to have time while this is going to, of course, so this will be ready long before my pasta is. And as I said, when you get good at this, you'll be able to throw this together in however long it takes you to cook your pasta. In this case, it's about 12 minutes. Okay, so pasta goes in the water. Okay, so you guys can't see this, so I'll tell you about this in a sec. I gotta get this pasta to sit down in the water for a sec. There we go. Okay, so one of the things that now I am gonna do the flippy thing, and this is basically this is where you want to be, okay? I got a nice crispy exterior, you guys can see, okay? Nice crispy exterior on each piece. Hold it up there. Camera focus. Yeah, there you go. So it's nice and smooth inside and crispy on the outside. That's exactly where I want to be. So this goes off. And I'm just going to let it sit. So, the thing with the sauce, and we're going to talk a little bit about the sauce for a sec. In order to get a nice, smooth emulsification in this sauce, we are going to be using some of the pasta water from the pasta. So normally, and this is we've talked about this over the last couple of weeks. Normally they tell you to cook your pasta, salt water, in a giant pot of boiling water. And in general, that's true, because if you're cooking a large portions of pasta, you don't want the water to come off a boil when the pasta goes in, because it screws up your cooking time. However, what makes your emulsification in this sauce is the starch from the pasta water. So this pot here only has maybe 3 inches of water, 2 inches of water in it, 3 inches, because I want really starchy water to make the sauce. So, and I'll also only cooking one portion. And that's going to take a few minutes. So let's, you guys have any questions about anything that's happened so far? This is off, by the way. I know it's still bubbling, but we're going to get to it in a sec. Hey, Serena. Hasn't the concert started yet? It's 7:30. Nick, what were you making with halloumi? Or you just cooked halloumi? Cook it evenly on each side. Yeah, halloumi is really good. I am just making one serving, yes, Rebecca. So the trick you'll see in, well, 9 minutes actually, guys, is to incorporate this together without scrambling your egg, cream, cheese mixture. You will screw it up more than once, and there's nothing wrong with, like, it's just a texture thing. It still tastes amazing if you accidentally scramble your eggs or cook them. That's totally, oh shit. The pepper. We didn't do the pepper thing. Okay. Got distracted. Let's talk about pepper. I meant to do this. So, mortar and pestle and peppercorns are going in. So, the thing with peppercorns is the outside hull of the peppercorn isn't particularly spicy. It's much milder. So if you want your carbonara to have a good pepper punch, I'll show you how to do that. So let me just grind this up real quick. Okay. So you can see here, I've got the hulls of the peppercorns and the insides in there. And the way to get good punch out of your that actually sounds really good, Nick. The way to get good punch out of your pepper is to sift it. So I'm just gonna this is just a strainer, fine mesh strainer, and then what I'm left with here is like concentrated pepper. The insides of the pepper. So that's the spicy hot part, which is what I want for my carbonara tonight. Now you don't always have to do that. I'm doing this specifically because I want a good pepper punch in my dish. If I was just doing regular seasoning, and I have pepper here somewhere. This is my everyday pepper, and I don't sift my everyday pepper. So this is what I have on hand for just regular seasoning of dishes. But for tonight, I'm going the extra step because this makes a big difference for this dish. So there you go. That was the pepper crisis has been averted. My martini has gotten warm. They're less good warm. A martini should be very cold. Really? Okay, we still got 6 minutes here, guys. Any questions about anything else? Butter. How can buttered chicken be vegetarian? Oh wait, no, buttered chicken spiced halloumi. I get it. So basically buttered chicken with halloumi. Okay. That sounds good. Yeah, I figured that out after I actually read what you wrote, Nick. Sorry for that. Alright. We got 6 minutes. I'm gonna bring this back up to temperature just a little. I don't want it to be cold. So yeah, you should do that. I'd be curious to see them. I'm sure they're good. Like people have this misconception about recipes that are like on the sides of boxes and stuff like that, that somehow they're inferior, and that makes no sense. Like one of the best cookie recipes you can get is off the side of that box. I forget what the product is, but those companies have a vested interest, and they spend millions of dollars perfecting those recipes, making sure they taste amazing, because they want it to taste good so that people use the product. So, like Chef's Plate sounds like a great. Somebody's probably spent a lot of time making sure those recipes. Well, first of all, they're probably relatively easier to do, but I'm sure they taste amazing because they have a vested interest in you coming back and ordering more Chef's Plates things. So I bet you they're really good. There's more than one way to, people get hung up on cuisine and cooking and perfecting things, and there's lots of ways to do things. See, and that's Nick. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of cooking, right? It's not about it's if you're enabled and you're able to take ingredients and prepare it for yourself, that's awesome. That's what it should be. Hold on, Rebecca. I gotta go back. Okay, that's a really good question, Rebecca. I'm going back to your thing. I see it. I didn't this time. So I've seen this done. I've seen two amazing carbonaras prepared slightly different ways. I saw the king of carbonara apparently in Bologna prepare it, and he puts some of the fat from his guanciale and he whips it into the egg mixture. I'm not going to do that tonight. I do that sometimes. I want to keep this presentation a little more simple because the other thing he did, which obviously we can't do, is he then continued to cook his pasta in a bain-marie with the egg mixture, and we're not doing that. We're doing it in a pot with water. So you could do that. There's nothing wrong with that. You do have to be very careful because putting hot fat into the eggs might cook them. You need to be a little bit careful with that. So I want to do a more of a foolproof method for tonight. So we're going to do it that way. So I hope that answers the question, Rebecca. All right, 2 minutes. We're looking good. Okay, great. I'm glad. All right, move this out of the way. There's some space in my microscopic kitchen. Any questions on pasta to buy too? I think we covered everything. Just it's worth spending a little extra on these ingredients because Italian cooking, there's just in any I keep harping on Italian cooking, but any cuisine you're cooking, you want to use the best quality ingredients that you can afford. But in particularly in dishes where there's only 3 or 4 or 5 ingredients, then when they really stand out, I mean that's the beauty of cooking those dishes too, is that you can do that. You can go for the absolute very best. Okay, so we got 49 seconds left on that. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do this without. So it's okay if your pasta's a little al dente. when you for this step, because we're gonna actually cook it a little bit more in the pan. Well, you'll see. You'll see. Okay, I feel like this is good. It just sounds ready to me. So again, don't you? I'm taking the pasta water with me here. I'm leaving it really wet here, and I might actually add a little bit more. So let's see. Again, yeah. So I don't have enough pasta water. Let's get some more of that out. Where's my ladle? And it's actually hard to put in too much pasta water because you can just cook it off, right? But what I want to get here is a nice, before I even add the eggs, is I want to get a really nice, I hope you guys can see the glisten there. I want to get a really nice sauce going just with what I've got here. That's probably too. So I'll leave this back in the heat for a sec. Adding a little extra water will also give you a little extra protection against your eggs curdling because it cools all of this down a little bit. So I really like the consistency we're at here. Leave it a bit wet. So I don't know if you guys can see here. It's a little bit wet. That's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to cook that down with the egg. And you kind of just got to experiment with this just a little bit. Like, you'll get a feel for it after you do this a few times. And believe me, this is a dish that's worth doing a few times. I've lifted it off the heat completely here. As I stir in my eggs, and you can see I'm getting, there we go. And you see, just see how that thickened up? And that's actually too thick. So again, just a little bit of the pasta water. Let's get back in there. No scrambling, which is good. And I hope you guys can see the consistency we've got here. It just looks unbelievably creamy and delicious. You guys can see? You guys can see. Okay. So, I think we could even go just a little bit more. Just thin this out a little bit. I'll get the heat off now. There we go. Okay. Come on. Come on. There we go. So you guys can see. I hope you can see. This consistency, to my eye, just looks absolutely fantastic. So I'm very happy with the way this looks right now. Let's get our bowl and do a test. Guanciale is amazing. The thickening, yes. And it's not, it looks, it's not complicated. And it's really hard to sort of describe what you want to do, but it's really, really easy to do it. So again, we're going to use our tongs here. Oh, you guys can see this. To get a nice, nice little tower. This is probably overly fancy for a weeknight dinner, but it's a fun way to do it. Oh, and I didn't get it anyway. Okay, there you go. And then just spoon everything else over top. Okay, guys. So, what we are going to do, actually, is put this back and add our pepper. I forgot. And we're going to add a little more water, and we're going to start a little bit over again. All that talk about pepper, and then I went and forgot it. Now, I did save a little bit to top the dish. But now it worked out because now I get a chance to kind of... that's really hot. Do my twirly thing. Which went a little better this time. I'm going to have to practice that. You can tell I'm not a professional chef who works in the kitchen. Okay. Let's clean this up though. That's a little... I do have some vanity here, so never be afraid to like clean up your rim there. Okay, and I'm gonna top this with a little more pepper because I really like it. And there you go. Okay, guys, so this is it. This is our carbonara. Oh, now I'm gonna put that. A little bit of cleanup, and we'll do our taste test. You guys can see okay? And let's lift that up so you guys can have a look. There you go, guys. This is carbonara. Clumsy tonight. Let's see if it's any good. Wow. Yeah. So I've been making this a fair bit lately. And it just gets better every time. This is easy to make, guys, and this tastes absolutely. It's unreal. This may be one of the best ones I've ever made. Go back and show you guys. Really, really very happy with this. Just wow. I'm making a pig of myself, guys, but I don't care. Okay, well, that's what I want to show you guys tonight. We covered all of the ingredients and the preparation and the technique. And I know this seems kind of involved, but once you get the hang of it, it actually goes really quick. So Nick, for example, if you're going to make this like a chef's plate thing, the only extra step you have to do, is like chopping up the chef plates, things ever use eggs. Like you would have to cut up your, like the chef's plate prepares you with a mise en place from the get-go. So you would have to like cut up your guanciale and have your eggs and prepare this. But other than that, this is a really, really, so there you go. Then this is really no different. There might be like a couple of extra steps, but you can definitely do this. Yeah, so your guanciale, you're going to have to cut it up. That's not necessarily bad. Learning how to cut up guanciale is not a bad thing. And it's really, really everything, this would be really, really simple to do. Wow. Yeah. Really happy with this. This is delicious. I'm also really hungry. Okay, so I'm gonna hang out for a few guys. Do you have any more questions about anything? I got some wine. I have a martini I have to finish, and I'm gonna eat a little more pasta. But I've kind of shown you everything I wanted to show you tonight. I was gonna do. I know we talked last week. I was gonna do arancini this week, but it just didn't make sense to make huge portions of arancini with only me here. So next week will be arancini, which is also going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, I'm going to finish my dinner, and then I have to go learn how to play Stellaris. Well, relearn, I guess. And that's it. So everybody, like, we planned out next week. I'm going to drop the cocktail unless somebody really has a cocktail they're craving that they want to learn how to make. So if you think of a cocktail that we haven't covered in a past stream, or you want to see me redo one, you tried something in a bar and you want to know how to make it, let me know and I'll feature it. But I think going forward for now, I'm going to skip the cocktails. To be honest, I originally, when I first started doing this, the cocktail was a way for me to sort of settle into the stream and get comfortable in the first few that I did, because it was a little nerve-wracking, I guess. But I feel now I kind of have like more of the hang of it. I don't need that little intro bit to settle in. Now, I'm happy to do cocktails if people have something they really want to see, but if you don't, I'm going to skip it. So, everybody have an amazing evening. I'll see you next week for arancini, and stay safe, guys.